Have you ever wondered why the US Air Force still hides the identity of a programmer who wrote a simple line of code, or why they absolutely refuse to reveal what that code was? And how did this closely guarded secret lead the US Congress in June 2026 to step in and legally block the retirement of a fighter jet until at least 2032, while they wait for its successor, the F-47? Today, in this video, I'm going to tell you the story of the most expensive fighter jet project in United States history and how its production was brutally slashed from 750 planned aircraft down to just 187, leaving a terrifying total bill of $67.3 billion. We will discover how older aerial refueling tankers became the absolute lifeline for the most advanced stealth fighters on the planet, forcing pilots to follow them using only their eyesight to escape certain disaster. And finally, what does the 181st meridian, better known as the International Dateline, have to do with the simultaneous collapse of a complex 1.7 million line software system? How did the very first overseas deployment of 6 F-22 Raptors over the Pacific Ocean turn into a nightmare when navigation, communications, and fuel systems completely shut down on every single jet at the exact same time? The story officially begins on February 7, 2007. The very first F-22 Raptor touched down at Hickam Air Force Base in Hawaii for a stopover. This was no ordinary flight. 12 Raptors and over 250 airmen from the 27th Fighter Squadron out of Langley, Virginia, were heading to Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan. The objective was massive. This was the aircraft's very first overseas deployment. Everything was going according to plan until February 10th or 11th, as a formation of 6 Raptors crossed the Pacific Ocean and intersected the International Dateline. The unthinkable happened. The onboard computers crashed across the entire formation simultaneously. Navigation, communications, and fuel systems all went dark on the most expensive fighter jet the United States had ever built. Retired Air Force Major General Don Shepard described the terrifying failure on CNN, saying, "At the International Dateline, whoops, all systems dumped, and when I say all systems, I mean all systems. Their navigation, part of their communications, their fuel systems, they could have been in real trouble." Fortunately, the Raptors were not flying alone. They were accompanied by aerial refueling tankers. The great irony of this crisis was that these older aircraft had navigation systems that remained completely functional. Because the weather was clear that day, the F-22 pilots were able to visually lock onto the tankers, following them like a lifeline all the way back to Hawaii. They landed safely and no one was hurt. Naturally, the Air Force did not want to broadcast the exact cause of the failure. Their public statement was incredibly brief, simply stating the aircraft experienced a software problem involving the navigation system en route from Hickam to Kadena. They declined to elaborate further, citing operational security. However, sources close to the program pointed to the exact trigger: the shift in longitude at the 181st meridian, flipping from just under 180 degrees west to 180 degrees east. One Air Force colonel described the catastrophic failure perfectly. It was a computer glitch in the approximately 1.7 million lines of code. Somebody makes an error in a couple lines of the code and everything goes. Engineers scrambled and managed to locate the problem within hours, fixing it within days. The jets eventually completed their deployment to Kadena on schedule, and the Air Force pushed the exact same software update across the roughly 87 F-22s that made up the fleet at the time. Following the incident, the squadron's commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Wade Tolliver, noted, "Every time we fly this jet, we learn something new." But those lessons came at an astronomical price. The F-22 program was originally intended to produce 750 aircraft. By the time production officially ended in December 2011, That number had been slashed to 187. The total program cost reached $67.3 billion, meaning each aircraft cost more than $300 million once research and development were factored in. It officially became the most expensive fighter jet per unit the United States had ever fielded. Despite its flaws, the F-22 remains a critical asset. In June 2026, the House Armed Services Committee approved an amendment blocking the Air Force from retiring any Raptor through September 2032, 5 years beyond the previous deadline. Why? Because its planned successor, the F-47, isn't expected to be combat ready until the mid-2030s. To this day, the Air Force has never disclosed exactly which lines of code failed, who wrote them, or what massive oversight in the testing process failed to account for a jet simply flying across the 181st meridian at cruising altitude. It remains a multi-million-dollar coding mystery that almost cost pilots their lives. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories from aviation history, and let me know in the comments, do you think a simple line of code is the greatest threat in modern warfare?